Good Sunday morning, everybody. Welcome to Breakfast with the Boys. It is Super Bowl Sunday for a good reason to have a nice early start at all of this and go through what was in the NLL weekend. And, well, old habits die hard, With me, as always, I've got Shawn Slaght in probably, greener Saskatchewan than here. How are you, Shawn?
I'm not. It's pretty little snowy out here too. So you're just getting all the weather we had about a month ago.
You guys brought up the weather, the cold weather with you when you came here, and now you're getting your snow too. It's awesome. Thanks. And over in Connecticut, I've got Muffler Mike Kostiuk. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah, no shoveling for you today?
Oh well, I cleared off my driveway before
We all have our cardio here, so. I drove through a 20 centimeter little drop after the Rock game last night. That was always fun. Apparently, that's just the warm up for the rest of the week. So I didn't think we moved to Buffalo, but apparently they're coming to town, so we're going to get some of their snow too. Oh, there you go.
Yep, we do. Yep, it's insane.
One who doesn't have snow here is Eduardo.
Yeah, Eduardo's in nice sunny Florida. Yeah,
he wants to trade with us. You can have this guy. Nothing like coming out after a game of heartbreak and then have to go, try and find my car because they're all
shovel
white.
Your car off. Yeah,
all the cars are white out there. Even the blue car. I thought, never mind. That was funny watching some people wandering around. Where did I park? It's been a pretty interesting week. I got a bit of news for everybody on a few fronts, so we'll get onto that in a second. Just a reminder to everybody before we get rolling that all episodes are streamed live across Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, and also Instagram Live. That's we'll go live with them too, right? Let them in on it too. Remember to hit the subscribe, follow, like buttons. Let everybody know about us. Talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to your coworkers, talk to the guy down the street. Let everybody know. It's too good to keep secret. Please enjoy all of our affiliates, the Pat Bernard Show, Steel Steps, soccer and football, pre- and post-game shows. There's going to be lots of stuff today, all day long, about, of course, the Super Bowl. And how many times we're going to see Trump, how many times we're going to see Swift. I don't know. Over-under is like 6. So I'm leaning to the over on Trump and the under on Swift. So we'll see. If you want the show, no worries. You can grab them all on YouTube at either Stream Punk Sports or at All Across All the Time. And if you come to All Across All the Time, not only will you get our library of shows, you'll get retro games, you'll get interviews, you'll get fights, you'll get press conferences, all kinds of stuff, more stuff coming all the time. And remember, you can stay up to date with all sports by visiting streampunkentertainment.com with great articles from our huge staff of contributors. And again, this show is brought to you by 60. More than just a number. 60 is Canada's newest and most exciting sports uniform and teamwear brand, delivering top quality uniforms and teamwear that reflects the spirit and identity of each team. Their commitment to innovation and excellence sets them apart, ensuring that every customer experiences the perfect blend of style and functionality. Unleash your greatness with 60. Also, add Lax Talk 10 to your order for a 10% discount on your order. You can check them out at, you can go to the QR code that's on this picture. You can either go to sweet60 Instagram. You can email them at info.sweet60@gmail.com or go to their new website at sweet60.ca/60. And Jim was on last week with us talking about all the things that went into it and all the things are going into it. It's awesome. And look forward to seeing the unveiling with the women's stuff as well. It's going to be a really cool thing. Oh, there you go. 75 degrees there.
Yeah. I would gladly trade too.
What he really means, yes, is he traded for a Warriors win.
Yeah.
That's selling your soul to the devil, no, isn't it? Well, yeah, classic Warriors.
You're wrong there.
Yeah.
Might be a classic stealth lacrosse if we really want to get into it. But a few news items. Well, the first one is kind of, well, come on, NLL. You can do better than this. Really? When did Doug Jameson go over to San Diego? And Shawn, you didn't tell
Yeah.
me Thomas Isaac is now on the Rock.
I didn't realize he's playing for 2 teams now. I mean, is he that good? I mean,
Oh, he gained a couple of pounds too.
yeah, it almost
Well,
looks like Nick Rose there, hey?
Yeah, Doug Jameson, man, he's looking svelte.
Much younger, yeah.
Come on, NLL, you can do better than that. My gosh, really? Anyways, a few birthdays. Johnny Davis, shooter. He turned 81 the other day. And just to keep it in Peterborough, John Grant Sr. He turned 74 yesterday. It's the picture of the group. Yeah, don't know who's in the front there, but hey, all the riffraff. But 2 of the greatest players ever to adorn uniforms. Now, this one's a little bit not great. We all know Craig Wendy's been through a lot. He's had they of course goals for Avery on there, and that's been very successful, but at a huge price. But he was taking his stepson home from school the other day, and he got hit by a clown that was evading police. If you've seen it on the internet, you might have seen about the axe-wielding idiot, and that's the guy who hit him. And here's the look of his vehicle. According to him, thank God he had good goalie reflexes, because the little bit of maneuvering might have saved this guy going right through his doors, which is just absolutely insane. Just insane. I had talked to him, and they're hurting, but they are on the mend. Apparently, this guy was going the wrong way on a one-way street in Kitchener, and of course, struck them just about head on. So we wish him all the best in his recovery. He's not sure when or if he's going to come back to Lacrosse, but at the moment, dealing with concussions and a whole lot of other pain, and of course, a couple of days after the fact, when this stuff really sets in after the shock wears off. So we wish him the best. Like I said, I was just talking with him this morning, and they are on the mend, but they both have long ways to go, but they are around, and for the most part, up and about. So we thank goodness for that, and we wish them the very best of speedy recoveries. Onward. We had a couple of milestones in the Rock game. Number one, Elijah Gash. We all know him from his fighting ability. He got his very first NLL goal yesterday evening. And on the other end of the spectrum, Corey Small had a hat trick last night, and the third goal was his 400th NLL career goal. So, pretty cool. Pretty cool.
And just to add to that, guy whose jersey's on my door just passed Dan Dawson for 6th all-time in goals scored. That's Curtis Dixon. He has 562 career goals now.
Nice.
And I believe next up on the list is his teammate Dane Doby.
Well,
not far out of sight. So,
I don't know how this happens. We have a lot of fools in this world, and like I say, he was tased, and he got up and he still went into his truck to go and try and get an axe to go after the police before he got tased again. So he's sitting where he belongs right now, and hopefully we don't have the catch and release program going in full swing. So yeah. So again, our best go to Craig and his family at this time. So let's move on. Well, guys, the Arena Lacrosse League, we had a stunner on Friday evening. An absolute, it knocked me off my chair because I couldn't believe what I was watching. And, Whitby is undefeated no more. Not only did they drop the game, but they lost to the Brampton Express in Brampton 24-14. An emphatic lost your first game of the year. What this has done is jettisoned Brampton over into first in the power rankings because of this performance. Unbelievable. Jake McNabb, 4 goals, 2 assists. Austin Hazen, 4 goals, 2 assists. Tyler Halls, 2 goals, 2 assists. So you wonder if Rochester is looking to get him back quickly. But wow. That's not even to mention Curtis Ward and the game that he had, which was 4 goals and 3 assists. So everybody got in the action. Jacob Janke with a goal and 6 assists as a playmaker as well. For the Steelhawks, Devin Pfeiffer with 3 goals and 6 assists. Liam Osborne with a goal, 4 assists. Nate Woods with a pair of goals. Owen Orpana, 3 goals. Luke Keenan with a couple of goals. What can I say? Sometimes this is the best thing because now they don't have that pressure of trying to be undefeated all year. But wow, that was unexpected to say the least. I thought this was going to be a real close game, and it wasn't close at all. 2 5-goal runs before the half, and this thing was long over at the half. 14-5 at the half. So that was all she wrote. Looking at a couple of other scores yesterday, the Oshawa Outlaws put together a real complete performance, and they beat the Peterborough Timbermen in Oshawa 18-14. Of note, Tate Katoni had 4 goals and 4 assists. Cam Milligan, 3 goals and 6 assists for Peterborough. John St. John for Oshawa, 3 goals and 5 assists in the winning. So Tate Katoni is now with Oshawa. There's a big swing.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome.
Giving them a boost.
Yeah.
A huge boost, yeah. But wow. But that was the difference in the game, guys. Also at the track, you had the Toronto Monarchs facing the Six Nations Snipers. And the Monarchs have had a little bit of hard luck recently. They came out on top 16-12 in fine fashion. They broke back and forth game. But the Monarchs are sitting pretty right now. Snipers are having that same hard luck that they've had the last couple of years. They start out well, and now they're just they just can't finish games. And this was another one where they just couldn't finish. Lots of scoring from all over the place on both teams. So the big scorer in this game was Tanner Buck for Toronto with 5 goals, 6 assists. Parker Pfeiffer, 2 goals and 9 assists for the Monarchs. For the Snipers, the big scorer there, Jeremy Bombury, 2 goals, 2 assists. Jaden Patterson with 2 goals and 1 assist. Mitch Zulian with 2 goals. So we have one game going off today, and that will be the River Wolves against the Bears at 2 o'clock. Now, the Bears, of course, are taking a hit because Craig Wendy was their goalie. So they're going to be going with number 2. So if they didn't already have a few troubles, now they got some real ones. If I remember right, it was Wendy's big play last week that won them their first game of the year. So let's hope that they can put together a decent performance. Out in ALL West, yesterday had a couple of games. The Grizzlies faced the Eagles and won 17-10. And the Blackfish faced the Sea Spray, and they won 16-11. Upcoming, next week, you have the River Wolves against the Timbermen on Saturday, as well as the Express facing the Monarchs at track. You also have a third one on the bill with Snipers facing the Outlaws and the Bears facing the Steelhawks. Everything is on Saturday next week. So there's 2 games over in Oshawa. Make it 3 games in Oshawa. Wow. It's going to be a busy day. If you have the time, head on over to Children's Arena in Oshawa. 3 games. Not bad. And then, of course, the 1 game at track if you're in the Oakville area. All right, guys, we had a smaller NLL week. Not to say that it wasn't painful. The one that you got last week.
Oh,
And it this week. Pat came out with a 3-1 record, going against the grain on everything, while the rest of us kind of mirrored together, all at 1-3. Shawn still sits in front by a game over me at 35-25. I'm at 34-26. Mike is on my heels still at 33-27. Caden is at 500 at 30-30. And Pat sitting there jumping up on us, almost at 500 at 29-31. He's making his play back. But speaking of Caden, why don't we bring Caden on? And, misery loves company. Caden, what's happening?
Let's go!
I just figured last week he didn't make it because he was sitting sulking. If that were the case, I wouldn't be here today.
Well, as you see, I added the still in front of the tag.
So,
still.
It
at
would
least,
be way worse if they played this week because, probably a sad loss.
You're starting to sound like me now. Here we go. Unfortunately, I've got the Indigenous stuff on with the Indigenous jersey, and behind it was Indigenous.
Great jerseys, by the way.
But I have to go. Unfortunately, this one hurts, guys. Still going Indigenous though.
He's
my head hurts.
you feel dirty, yes.
Speaking of San Diego, when I go back to the start of it, I didn't know Dougie shaved his beard and went to San Diego.
Yeah, he's looking pretty good there, hey? Yeah.
No.
Well, time is
All right.
Kostiuk's put on a few pounds.
He's got to take care of himself a little bit there,
Yeah.
He's young, yeah.
It's time for
Too young
Caden
to
to
look
take the
old.
reins.
Let that winning go to his stomach.
I'm telling you. Come on, NLL. Let's have a lager and kind of relax, yeah? My goodness.
Maybe they had a few too many.
That's awesome. Happy hour is from when the doors open until game time. Or merely only cost you your firstborn for a beer, as opposed to the whole family, which happens after game time. Don't come hungry. It's not a cheap event there. But anyways, why don't we start with this little ditty over here? And we had the Mammoth and the Swarm on Friday night. And the Swarm might as well feel like the Rock and have that swooped away in the last second. Williams leads away with a hat trick as the Mammoth outlasts the Swarm. Eggleston, that's 4 goals, 3 assists in a loss. Boy, oh boy, has he looked good the last couple of weeks, eh?
Yeah, I mean, he's really coming to his own, and this game, probably everything we thought it would be, just a back and forth battle. Even when someone got up by 2 goals, the other team would come right back with their own run. And it just came down to the last minute, 38 seconds left. Ryan Lee with a really nice bouncer shot that got by Dobson for the game winner. As you said, for the Mammoth, Will Malcolm again. How big of a pickup has that been with the expansion draft and him coming back? 2 goals, 4 assists. Ryan Lee, a pair of goals and 6 assists. A hat trick for Zed Williams. Connor Robinson, who's kind of been struggling earlier this year, had 2 goals and 4 assists for 6 points. So he had a pretty good night coming back on there. Interesting enough for the Swarm, Lyle Thompson was actually held only to 5 assists, so he did not find the back of the net, which is quite unusual. Miles had a pretty good night, though. 2 goals, 3 assists. A goal and 4 assists for Shane Jackson. A goal and 3 assists for Seth Oakes. A hat trick for Brian Cole. And like you said, Torrin Eccleston. I mean, that kid's going to be a hell of a player. A hell of a player. He's really shown it already.
The last couple of weeks, just incredible. Just incredible to what he's done since he's come back. He's been a real spark to that lineup.
Yeah.
I thought watching him just anytime he held the ball, he really dominated a lot of the play, like especially on the Seth Oakes goal. A lot of it was, Colorado forcing on him, trying to go coverage 2-man on him, and he still pushed them both off, found the ball to Seth Oaks, and there was nothing they could really do on that one. Like that was just kind of, a testament to his entire play this season.
Absolutely. Now it brings me to the thing of, we all thought that Georgia was going to be looking so strong this year, and really, not really.
They've been. This is a team I have a hard time getting. Like a lot of teams, honestly, I'm having a hard time just kind of getting a feed on. Like they're so inconsistent. One night they look so good. Next night they just look pedestrian.
I'm with you on that one. I can't get a handle on them either, because they're either scoring in bunches, or they forgot how to do it. And it's not one team; it's a lot of them. Go ahead, Kate.
Oh, especially with the start that they had. Like they were really good the start of the season, and now they just kind of faltered off, and it's really shocking to me personally.
Yeah, because they really. Again, we were talking early on about could it be Buffalo and Georgia for that last game of the year, where who gets the number one spot. I don't think that's in jeopardy anymore.
No,
I just you look up and down the lineup, and I can't figure it out really, because Miles Thompson's back, and he's looking great. I'm glad his knee healed up, but 2 goals and 3 assists in this game. He's looking good. Lyle Thompson with 5 assists. Granted, you'd want a little bit more goal production out of him, but he's doing his part. He's still there. And then you look down the rest of the lineup, and what? Brennan Bombury with a goal. Shane Jackson with a goal. Andrew Q wasn't playing in this game.
Yeah.
Ryan Cole, he's doing his part still. But if he's your leading offensive attack, that's not saying much about the guys who are scoring.
Your leading offensive attack was a rookie.
Yeah, well, Torrin Axel, we talked about him.
Yeah.
But just Seth Oaks, he hasn't been right since his injury last year. And he hasn't gotten on track to the way he was really coming into his own last year. And I don't see that this year. Caleb Benedict isn't in the lineup again. So much promise, and he's in and out continuously. So I don't know. Doesn't a whole lot for me to want to get behind them. Go ahead, Kate.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if it comes to a spot where they continue to lose. Obviously, you're building around Torrin Eccleston. Do they start to wonder to sell off some of their vets at the trade deadline? Try and pick up on some rookies and some picks in the upcoming years of the draft.
Well, Adam Levy put this up a couple of weeks ago on the other show, and it was, how long can you keep?
We lose Gary.
Lost Gary again.
No, that's a good point. Last year there was talk at the trade deadline of Shane Jackson moving, even possibly moving to Saskatchewan, and that was pretty heavy. That rumor, it ran for a little bit. So, in my mind, the only thing that's kind of stopping that is, again, he's right now he's not kind of anywhere near his 2020 MVP form. He's not necessarily the main focus in the offense. I don't know if that's, to his detriment a bit, but I also wouldn't see Georgia trading him just because he's been with the franchise his entire career. I know he's involved in a lot of the youth stuff down there. Him and Cole are generally, out and about in the region, repping the team and so on. So that I think that might be a tough sell to the fan base.
And I might caution too. So Mike, I was going to caution too, Mike, that with a team like this, you're probably looking like a 500 record 9-9, which is likely still going to get you in the playoffs. So I don't know if you're really quite going to want to sell at the deadline if you're probably going to sneak into the playoffs and have yourself a chance.
Yeah.
But
we talked about the whole roster retention thing, So it's just.
My question to you guys is this: And yeah, it might get you in the playoffs. But what's the point if you have a first round exit in your future? Should you be getting rid of stuff to start moving to the future and picking up things to try and actually win? I had this question for later on once we got through the NLL games: buyers, sellers, or stay the course. But really, when you look at it, because I'm getting that question here in Toronto also, do we just put everything there so that you can just squeak in and they get hammered out of the first round? Or do you try and build 2 years down the road, get something for these things, get decent picks out of the deal, and actually build towards a winner?
That's what I think about with Albany sometimes. Like, bottom of the league right now, especially after a finals berth last season, it doesn't seem like even on a run of a string of wins that they could sneak in. At this point, do you wonder about selling some of your higher vets? Not saying you sell Ethan Walker or like Simmons or anybody like that, but maybe take calls for Wagner. Maybe see what people want to say about Watkinson. You just don't want to trade these guys, but it's all part of the business and it's all part of how it goes. And like you were saying, keep the course and push for a potential first round loss, or go for a next year big run next year.
Something to think about, because that's what Saskatchewan's been doing. They've put off having that first round exit, and now look, they're a viable team. They're in the conversation, and they've built piece by piece by piece, and things are moving forward. And Thomas Kostiuk's just another example of one of the young pieces that have stepped up and may have come a little bit before when they expected him to, but boy, oh boy, did he ever come in and make a splash.
Again, that's just the genius of Derek Keane. That's what he's always done, is stockpile draft picks, and I'm going to build through the draft. That's how he's always done it, and then he always finds that diamond in the rough, right? Somewhere.
Because San Diego, when we get to that game, is another one we're going to talk about. The same thing. This team can't stay together for more than a year or two. 2 or 3 of them will retire, or should retire. But same with Toronto. Got guys who are starting to get it up there, and the career goes this way for so long, and then it starts going this way. So when is it, not going upward? But as they're going this way, you have to know that timing so you can get the most back for it without getting hurt by it. I believe Saskatchewan did that with the Mark Matthews trade. Am I correct there, Shawn?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Every time I watch Zach Mans touch the ball, it's like someone just put, cold metal in my intestines.
Yeah, and
when Levi Anderson touches the ball, again.
And again, with all due respect, Gary, where's Mark Matthews right now?
Recovering
He's sitting on the IR with the sore shoulder because his age is catching up to him.
Yeah, that's exactly it. My point exactly. But let's move on. We're going to go to the Roughnecks game against Vancouver. Curtis Dixon and Hayden Dixon had hat-tricks in a back-and-forth battle. Lowen scores 3 goals in the loss. Has anybody really talked about what a great head coach Josh Sanderson is? Because I think at some point we have to pay a little bit of homage of how good he is in how this team is prepared. Because, we all didn't think that Calgary was going to do all that much this year in this rebuild, especially when they lost their phenom goalie. And here we are. And Calgary is week after week after week, we're talking about them and how they pulled this out and did that and got this and got just the right amount from this. And here we are. And Dobie and Dixon have both pulled their weight all year. Maybe Dobie a little bit more, sorry, Caden. Don't worry, I'm hurting too this week. I'm hurting. I feel your pain. I had the West Berg experience yesterday. But but this thing, I don't think that we give enough to Josh Sanderson and all that he's done as a head coach, as well as Cordingley and Phil Sanderson as part of that. That's a hell of a brain set for this team.
Yeah, that's something I think that will come around with time, especially if they manage to keep playing the way they're playing and get themselves say a top 4 seed in the playoffs. People are going to look at the turnaround, which again, is it really that much of a turnaround? Okay, they were mathematically eliminated on the last weekend, but they had the same 8-10 record as 4 other teams, including Rochester, who got in. So it's not like last season was some sort of catastrophic failure.
But when you look at who walked away after last season, it was looking to be a catastrophic failure this year.
Oh yeah.
A lot of us were saying
you lost your entire transition game. You lost your goalie. You lost some of your defense. Well, that was all the things that got you to that 8-10 record in the first place.
Yeah,
and you had to reinvent.
I was going to be honest, like with Cam McLeod, he looked good in the limited time they played in Panther City, but he was never really had that proven starter coming in. So I had doubts, no doubt. And he's silenced me. Yeah.
And this is by committee. Now you look at the up and down the scoreboard, and other than Dixon and Dobie, who had a hat trick each, everybody else, a goal or 2 here and there to chip in. Tanner Cook with a couple. He King with 1. Matthew Goche, he's starting to find his legs there.
Yeah.
Bennett Smith with a goal. Dobie with a couple of goals, but 4 helpers. These are the guys who are supposed to be sucking wind on the side because they're up there in age, and they're doing everything they can to win. Tyler Pace, Ethan Ticehurst, both with a goal. So, and then of course Cam McLeod with 40 saves on the night. I would say for sure that he's showing his worth in the NLL now, because Vancouver's no slouch. Now, my question now to you guys is, what in the heck is wrong with Vancouver? Because this is a number of games now that we're expecting them to, have this big thing that we saw last year, and they're falling short time and time again. Not by big margins, but they're falling short. And when they are winning right now, it's just barely. We haven't seen that decisive win from them. Is it that a number of them are starting to get up there in age? Also, we keep thinking about the young guys, but they have a number of veterans on this team as well. And is that catching up to them? And do they have to reinvent again?
I'm just wondering a little bit about the secondary scoring, because you got a lot of production on Keegan Ball. You got a lot of production of Kevin Caroli, Lowen, Charlon Beatty's kind of the guys you expect. I guess a little bit from, you got 2 goals from Claridge too, but after that, just kind of falls off.
Yeah, and I want to get to that for a sec, because obviously with the trade deadline coming up in a month-ish or so, maybe that's an area where we see Vancouver get active if they think they can make a run for the playoffs, and they've got kind of a surplus of lefties. You've got Charlon Beatties, you've got Lowen, you've got Martel, who's not playing really to the level he was last year,
right.
And that hasn't gone unnoticed by folks. You've got Claridge, young kid coming in, so he could be the future. You've also got Peyton Cormier, who has appeared in a couple of games, but probably hasn't adapted to the box game to kind of the same level that we're seeing out of, say, Brennan O'Neill. And let's not forget, they also have Brad McCulley, who I don't believe has appeared in a game yet this year due to injury.
He's on the holdout list right now.
Okay, so with that many lefties, maybe they can find one to part with and get some defense in return, especially if Matt Beers is, if his injury is a little more serious and going to have him on the shelf for a while.
Right. I'm also starting to look at their defense, because you mentioned Matt Beers, but you also got Brett Mitsky. You've got a number of guys that are starting to get up there in age.
Yeah.
Brian Dilks.
It's true, yeah.
Do they need to get younger?
I'm not so sure about that when I look at their young core. When I look at, Bowering, Grant, Lady. I mean, could they could
You have to get him from Toronto. He's still on their roster, believe it or not. I believe the holdout list.
I mean, could they dangle someone like Steph Charbonneau or Jeff Cornwall in a trade?
Yeah,
Maybe
that's what I'm thinking.
to get younger.
Yeah, I don't think.
I mean, I
I agree. I don't think they need to blow it up. Yeah.
Options, and yeah, that it's something to think about because it was only 2 years ago that we were sitting here discussing how what a big thing it was going to be for Vancouver to bring home all these BC guys.
Yep.
When they
Yeah.
when they brought in Mitski and they brought in Dilks and they brought Matt Beers back, John Lintz. So
No thanks.
and you can add I guess you can add McCulley and Kevin Crowley to that too.
Right.
Local guys.
Yep.
But I guess on
Isn't
the
it
flip
odd that
side of
McCulley is still living in Buffalo? Do you find that odd like I do?
that, I mean, if it's a work thing, I don't.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think overall Vancouver's done a good job of bringing guys back home. Obviously it didn't work with Curtis Dixon. It didn't work with Christian Del Bianco. Not for lack of them trying. But on the flip side, you could also look at it and say, hey, look, they didn't overload the team with so many BC guys that now they have this problem when things don't work out, where now we've got all hometown guys and it's who we picking to send away from home, which is never a fun decision to have to make as an NLL GM.
Yeah.
To have to unload a guy that you worked hard to bring back home, and now you got to send them away again because something's not working and things aren't working out as planned.
Right.
I was gonna say it might be worth just taking a step back too, because we talked about the old stealth days. There's at least pieces here. It's not like the stealth days where like, man, this is a bad team that just needs to be blown up. Like, I agree with Mike. I think there's pieces you could trade out on the defense, but I don't think it needs to be completely blown apart. There are pieces there, even like an Owen Grant, who's probably in the talks right now for transition player of the year. I mean, you have those pieces there.
Right. It'll be interesting to watch because something has to happen. You know that Malowski's not going to be satisfied like this. And again, we're talking about, do you want to be just making it in the playoffs for a first round exit, or do you actually want to accomplish something? And that's the main question of the day, it seems. And how do we overcome it? Because when you have a number of pieces that you can get things in return for, now it's looking at where do you need most? And I'm starting to wonder. Defense, on paper, I love what I see, but it hasn't done the job. Offense, I love what I see, but they keep falling just short. And you can't keep relying on Ball and on Crowley, because Crowley is getting up there. He's only got a couple of years left at most before he does other things. He's already doing other things. And a Ball, he's probably your best piece to getting a whole heck of a lot back. So do you go for the blockbuster and try and do it that way? Or do you try and tinker and piece it and whatever?
Yeah,
or do you stand pat and hope?
I I don't know about the block. I mean, geez, the last time they did a blockbuster, it set them back half a decade. You know, when they did that, was it the deal, the multi-team deal with Small and Matthews?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was even thinking Mitch Jones trade. Like, if they try to blow that up too with sending him over to Philly.
Yeah, well, some of them, well, the stealth era was a whole different animal because they were drowning, and they needed to do something.
Yeah,
but this is
I
a
mean,
different,
the Mitch,
different animal,
Mitch,
different ownership, and different Milowski. There, as you know, it's all to do with the team and how to build. So
yeah, I mean, the Jones trade netted them Grant, did it not?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Pick, or was it Bowering? I can't remember.
No, it was
either
Grant.
way.
Bowering
Yeah.
pick was that trade with Rochester they had.
So just something to think about, because again, it's another team where it's on the cusp of doing something great, but they just can't seem to get over themselves to get to the other side of it. I think once they do, they're gonna, winning is, it's contagious. But they have all the other pieces there. They have really great management for the first time in forever. They have a great fan base for the first time in forever. They have a decent pieces, but what's lacking there is, I don't know. It's not chemistry. It's just that extra little oomph. They need one spark that some of the other teams have. You look at a team like Buffalo, and they have about 8 sparks, and it's just that's just a freak of nature, that one. But all the other teams, they need that spark. Toronto, it seems it's Josh Dawick. If he's on, it seems to ignite the rest of the team. Interestingly enough, San Diego.
No, that's a good point. I mean, because sometimes that spark is Keegan Ball. I mean, I personally, I think that if there needs to be another spark, it needs to be Adam Charlambides.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to be, and I'm not going to say that I don't think he knows this. I think he knows it. I think he knows it ever since the Mitch Jones trade. He's the guy on the left side.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, doesn't matter how high they drafted Pete and Cormier. Doesn't matter how well Claridge is playing. He needs to be the guy, and I think they need to consistently see, hat tricks night in, night out, 6-7 point nights, night in, night out from him.
Yeah, I'm just curious too. Is it maybe a leadership thing, just on the floor? Obviously, the coaching staff, there's no question about that. But obviously, you have Crowley, who's not a guy who's going to stand up. But who else is there that's going to stand up in that locker room when things go bad and say, "Let's go, boys"?
Yeah, that would have been Matt Beer's job, right?
Yeah.
But all right. Well, we can keep our eyes watching that. So let's move along, and we'll move here into Toronto, just because I've been far too happy through this show. And this is an interesting one, because you got two teams that are underperforming, and that's an understatement. You have the Seals that have been going backwards for the last few weeks. You have Toronto that finally got it going forward after 5 really, really rough weeks. And you had two teams that were 3-5 facing each other. When would you think that you were going to say that? The 3-5 San Diego Seals against the 3-5 Toronto Rock. Yeah, just a sign of the year. But strange game. Started out weird. Good double minor on Brad Cree to start the game in the first minute for cross-checking. Apparently he was out there for felonious assault too, but we couldn't get the cops on the field. But Dylan Watson with just a gorgeous goal to open the scoring. A one-handed from behind the net. How much wrist strength does you need on that? And kaboom, 1-0.
A lot of beautiful.
Yeah, go ahead.
A lot of beautiful one-handed goals this week.
Yep.
Shout out Brendan O'Neill.
We'll get there. chomping at the bit. He is. Westberg with the first of his 4 of the evening makes it 2-0, and the sold out Paramount Fine Food Center is getting a little bit restless and a little bit quieter, taking the air out of the tent. And Elijah Gash, known for his fighting ability, he got his first NLL goal on the power play, and it was 2-1 after 1, and brought a little bit of life to the Paramount Fine Food Center because it was merely seconds after Westberg's goal, and things were looking upward. Then, of course, the Westberg and Dylan Watson show happened in the second, and all of a sudden, 2-1 is 4-1. Josh Dawick comes back with a power play goal, makes it 4-2. Trent DeChico, he was having a little bit of a rough evening because it's a pretty rough game. And, a nice unassisted goal makes it 5-2. And, San Diego's rolling again. But Mitch DeSnew scored in transition off a beautiful long lead pass from Nick Rose. And it was 5-3. Ben McIntosh finishes off, just, comes right back, answers from a Rob Hellier pass. And at the half, it's 6-3 for San Diego. Now, you would think, that, Toronto's going to come and just, get everything righted at the half. And it looked like it. Schreiber comes back with a goal, 6-4. And that was about it for what I saw from the Rock for most of that quarter. Ty Thompson, big guy, man, with a beauty goal off a Ben McIntosh feed. Westberg with his third off a Hellier pass, and it's 8-4. Corey Small gets a power play goal. That's the one thing that worked well for the Rock. They were 4 for 5 on the power play in this game. And it was 8-5. Hellier comes back almost immediately, and it's 9-5, and that's how the quarter ended. So they're up 4 goals heading into the fourth, and it's people are starting to lose hope. Well, the one quarter that Toronto decided to play was the fourth quarter, and for a glimpse, for about 7 minutes of this game, the Rock showed how strong they can be. Bushi, just 25 seconds into the fourth, scores on the power play, followed by Corey Small about 20 seconds later, and it's 9-7. Small gets another one, and just an absolute laser, low-to-low laser, 9-8. Brian Cameron picks the corner, 9-9. Mitch DeSnew off another Nick Rose feed, and Toronto now has the lead with a 5-goal run, and the roof is starting to cave in on San Diego, and the party has begun in Toronto, and then it stopped. And it goes back and forth, and then with about a minute to go, just a little over a minute, Rob Hellier with one of those crazy bounce shots that would be like a curveball in baseball. Beach Rose off a Ryan Benesh feed, and we're 10-10, looking at overtime with 1:15 left in the game. Westberg, yes, the Westberg experience, with merely 48.5 seconds left in the game, off a Rob Hellier feed. Rob Hellier was playing the part of Jeff Teat in this game. and it went. Here's the thing. The last 2 face-offs, Erlen, great. He's your go-to guy. He got beat on both face-offs when it counted. And, Toronto did get an opportunity, and Wrigley made the save. Coming back off the timeout, and Toronto wasn't able to do anything. San Diego was able to hold on to the 11-10 victory. 3 stars in this game: Westberg, Corey Small, and Rob Hellier. 61 shots on goal for San Diego, so I wouldn't be celebrating just yet with the 11-10 victory. I saw the dressing room stuff and Pat Merrill telling everybody how proud he was. That's I don't know. 61 shots. All these fantastic fans in Toronto who have jumped on it. It's Nick Rose's fault. He should have saved everything. And 61 shots on net. Where was the defense? They weren't anywhere to be seen in the first couple of quarters. And 2 goals got called back in which the refs couldn't figure it out. NLL, hello, maybe review this game too. There's a common theme here I really don't want to get into, but twice, one referee's calling it a goal, the other calling not a goal. And both times it was not a goal. So thank goodness they had that and challenged themselves. Kind of strange. But Toronto went 4 for 5 on the power play. San Diego went 1 for 3, but also had a shorthanded goal in this game. Loose ball battle went by far to the Seals, 70-55. So Toronto was getting outworked for 3 quarters in every facet of the game and still hung on. Why? Because Nick Rose was stalwart for, pretty much 58 minutes of this game. And you're going to rest the last minute and a half on him? Give your head a shake. Where was the offense? Where was the defense? There was a lot of MIAs going on. Now, was the Seals defense looking good? Even my wife piped up to me and said, boy, they're tight. It's like, yeah, but you know what? I think the Rock were starting to make them look good because nobody wanted to go inside again. Constant thing you hear from me, isn't it? But on San Diego, when they were starting to falter, they stopped going inside. Every time they went inside, they were successful, both sides. But we're having all these outside shooting things going on both sides. But even when Toronto went inside for, the first 3 quarters, they're firing at that bullseye. It was that Seals logo thing. Yeah. Really? This is what you fought to do? Interesting. And all of a sudden, things started dropping in the fourth because, too good a team, too good at offense to be, shut down altogether. I was having, visions of the Albany game. You remember that one, eh, Kate?
Wow, one of our only 2 wins.
Can't live
well, if it wasn't for, oh, God, if it wasn't for my rock lager, man, I probably wouldn't be able to, do anything. But hey, what can you say? It hurts. It hurts. But again, I wouldn't be celebrating if I was San Diego either, because both teams, I think, have a number of issues this year.
Oh.
And I don't think either team's going to make a whole lot of noise unless they're the Cinderella team of the decade. And you're going to – next week is pivotal, man. Buffalo's into Toronto on Friday, and San Diego's into Buffalo on Saturday. Buffalo can kill 2 teams with 1 weekend. And then my question again goes to you guys. Are they buyers, sellers, or do they stay the course? Because if they don't do it against Buffalo during the year now, Toronto, this would be their second loss to Buffalo. San Diego, this would basically be a nail through their stake through their heart. What do they do? Do they move forward?
San Diego plays Buffalo twice as well. So next week is the first of 2. So
and unfortunately, it makes things that much tougher for Toronto, this loss, just because of that slow start.
Well, yeah, but even if you get in, because we've talked about 8 and 10 will get you in the playoffs probably. And more, I believe it, because everybody's having their problems. But the upper echelon, is that just, lamb to the slaughter? Let's not forget Rochester in this. They're off this week, but they're another team that's too good to be where they're sitting.
If Toronto gets into 8 against Buffalo and a 1 game takes all, we know how Toronto plays Buffalo. I mean,
could you imagine that one because of the hatred there? It doesn't matter what the records are. Next week, bring your popcorn because if you're doing nothing on the Friday night, that's the game you want to watch. Yeah. By the way, if you only get it on the radio, their halftime guest is me. So you might want to go on to WGR550.com and listen to the game.
I just want to add something real quick to the whole, what do they do future if, especially if Buffalo takes them both out next weekend. Looking at draft picks, next draft, Toronto, 2 first-rounders, a second-rounder, and a third-rounder. San Diego only has a second-round pick in the first 3 rounds next draft.
Yeah, so my feeling is,
yeah, I mean, it's
Jamie, hold on to your first rounders. Do not trade your draft picks.
Yes, do not be trading anything for this. No.
It's almost don't move. Just stay the course because you have those draft picks. Whereas, as you point out, Mike, maybe San Diego needs to start making some moves to get draft picks.
Yes. Jamie needs to sit back, have a rock lager. I know I need one. I may need one of those salty ones from San Diego.
Yeah, Jamie could be getting a call from Steve Govett, so or Pat Merrill. So
yeah, well, they can get Rob Hellier back. Haven't half of those guys been on it? Never mind. Just it's the Toronto Rock South, at least the coaching staff anyway, at one point or another. But it's interesting, and it was by the end of it, it was an exciting game. It was a rough one. Should there have been more things called? Maybe. But undisciplined play from Toronto, uncharacteristic, undisciplined play. I can go all over the rest, but you know what? They're penalties. Are they timely? Yeah, well, change the complexion of the game some point. But it's undisciplined play. I'll give a great example. Is Rogers? He was going to draw a penalty because he got cross-checked. So he comes up and takes a swing on Hellier, and they both go sit. So you just took yourself out of a power play where you went 4 for 5. Undisciplined play. You need to eat it. Yeah. Hit him in a bar later. Just eat it. And take the power play, especially when you're needing to get things going. When Toronto was up 10-9, and anything, kudos to Origlieri. Because, after that 5-goal shellacking where he was just handcuffed and, the whole team was a little bit stunned. At that point, he just was no more. And, they couldn't beat him again. And that was just enough that, there's too much talent on the Seals team. And sure enough, the Hellier Berg show and beat him. We've seen this before. I've watched it with Hellier on Toronto. And, he's the spark plug. I can actually go back to just before COVID. I was in Saskatchewan. And it was the Hellier show that, took a 6-2 deficit and became I believe an 8-7 victory for Toronto. And, that's after resting him in the box for a 5-minute penalty, if I remember correctly. Yep. But we got to talk with Travis for a while. Actually, the funny story was seeing the two of them in the lobby of the hotel long after the game in the snowstorm and, having them laugh together, which was kind of funny. But needless to say, I've had to watch Hellier do this his whole career. So for him to be the catalyst to beat Toronto, well, couldn't find a better person to do it. But again, that's like the Jeff Teat one against Ottawa. How do you leave that guy open? How do you leave Hellier that he can do this? So I don't know. Little things to be thought of. But it's a short week. They play Buffalo Friday night, 7:00 at the Paramount Fine Food Center. If you don't have a ticket, get a ticket. If you can't get a ticket, get on NLL Plus or get on ESPN Plus or TSN. It'll be the game of the week. Get on there and watch it because it's going to be something. And if you can't do any of that, WGR 550, you're going to catch me as your halftime guest. But hey, why not? That's going to be an interesting game because remember, Toronto and Buffalo was down to the last under a minute again. And off it went. So here's a stat for us. How many games has Toronto lost in the last couple of minutes? I can think of 4.
Yeah.
That's frightening.
I was going to go back.
Yeah. We're talking about Rochester in the last second. We're losing 2. But, you got the Ottawa game. You have the Georgia game. You have the Buffalo game. And now you have the San Diego game. That's 4 that could have gone the other way.
Colorado, too. could have gone the other way.
Yeah.
Well, they should have no business actually being there because they didn't. Again, they did the same thing. They were down 6-3 at the half and really didn't bother playing until the end. This is a habit that you can't see if you're going to do this against Buffalo and play only one quarter. It'll be 17-4.
Yeah.
Might I remind everybody that the last time that these two teams played on Valentine's Day, Toronto lovably calls it the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. This was when Stainhouse had 17 points. This is the one that Buffalo won, I believe, 26-10, 2009.
That's 2 records that still stand.
Yeah.
Most points in a game and 13 assists is the most assists in a game ever.
Yeah, and ironically, Billings came within 1 in Buffalo when Toronto was spanking Buffalo in those days. But that's a long time ago now. But so Toronto's going to try and avoid having that kind of history being repeated. But wow, this Buffalo team is rolling and healthy. And maybe in 4 weeks from now, when they've played 5 or 6 games in 4 weeks, they'll be a little bit panting. But right now, they're coming off a bye week. They're healthy. This isn't the right time to run into a buzzsaw like the Bandits. So, not looking like everything is in your favor. If anything, San Diego gets Buffalo after a tough game in Toronto 24 hours earlier. So, and they can be sitting here since most of their players from around here and don't have a whole lot of travel to get to Buffalo. But it's supposed to snow, so it might be a tough trip. That's the only thing I can think of as it's going to impede something. But this game was interesting, but it also showed a lot of things that need attention and quickly if they want to make a run. Do I think both teams are talented enough to do it? Yes. But it's the X factor.
Yeah. So I was just going to bring up on the San Diego side. I mean, how long has it been since they scored more than 11 goals? Yeah, they got the win, but man, that offense is just stagnant. It's just not.
Yeah. Yeah, and you look at it, like Benesh, he had 3 assists, nothing. Leclerc, nothing. Dylan Watson, that's your go-to guy? Really? Interesting. I will give James Riley all kinds of credit because he was doing the faceoffs, and he, plus he was playing probably the most physical of all of them out there. So there's a guy you're going to keep your eye on. Jesse Gamble had a really decent game. Had 1 assist, but boy, oh boy, he let the offense know that he is here. Of course, former Rock first-round pick. So a little extra, a little oomph being there. But Trent DeChico, he also had a physical game. So there's a number of pieces that are really great. But my God, Courier with 13 loose balls. He was a vacuum cleaner. And Ty Thompson, man, I tell you, I love watching him play. I loved watching him play years ago in junior, and I still love watching him play. And I think he's going to start getting a little bit more floor time because he's such a big presence and can set picks so well. And he's got good hands. So, if they get him more involved, I think that's one of the pieces that they need to work with because Westberg can't do this forever. So, again, the same thing we talked about before the season. Is this team too old to make that run? Or do they have just enough gas in the tank that maybe they can, put it together? But they're in the same position as Toronto. Guys that don't want to get hit and don't want to pay and don't go continuously inside. And then when they do, the shot selections are strange. So, made it for an interesting game. Very evenly matched teams. Now we go to the one where I can't figure out either team. I just for the life of me, I can't figure out either of these two teams. I think Halifax is going to fall flat. They come up with a great game. I think Philadelphia is due for a good game, and they fall flat. It makes no sense to me. Robinson and Terafenko each not Hatties to key road win. Russ Terrace drops 3 in the loss. But really, what's the thing with Philadelphia? I would have loved to have Pat on for today.
I'm going to raise my hand and wait to be recognized, Mr. Groob.
He's over in Connecticut.
With Halifax, their seasons have typically gone since their founding, coming out guns blazing, whatever, 6-2 record, something like that, near the halfway point. And then they have their kind of mid-season slump or late season slump, where they somehow, basically find a way to end near a 500 record and sneak into the playoffs. I think it's playing in reverse this year. The slump's coming first, and now they're starting to turn it on. I know that seems like it's simplifying things, but that's kind of what I'm seeing out of this team. Because, to me, the level of play hasn't really changed. We talked about the goalie controversy a couple of weeks ago, which wasn't really a controversy. I think we were all kind of on the same page. It was, hey, Hill needs a little rest. Give Hutchison the start.
Mm-hmm.
They did. They ended up winning. Yeah, it was a buzzer beater, but they won. They put Hill back in net, and Hill's been fine since.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just a matter of their seasons playing basically in reverse. They've kind of already gone through their slump, and now they're going to come out of it. Now, is that to say that they're going to win next week in the rematch in Halifax? I don't know. As far as their schedule, I don't know how favorable their schedule is after that. They got at Ottawa, then at Vegas, then they host Toronto week 15, then they host Sask week 16. So, not the easiest of roads.
All right. On the other hand, Philadelphia.
I'll take this one, Mr. Groob.
4 recognizes Mr. Caden.
Count your counseliness. I feel like Philadelphia wants to rely too much on Brendan O'Neill, and that's the big one. They obviously went out and got Reyes about midway through the season, a little bit through the season. So obviously acquiring Michael Sowers from Albany is a huge one. He came in his debut, scored 2 goals and an assist in the game. So they're there. They're right there. Obviously they're right on that cusp. I feel like it's a question of do they go with Knott in the next game? Does Philadelphia say, hey, maybe we give Knott a look? Speaking out of points, we mentioned Mitch Jones earlier. Mitch Jones having a goal and 8 assists, scoring 9 of the team's 10 points.
Mm-hmm.
This is just crazy.
Yeah, everything goes through Jones. Yeah.
Everything goes through him. And then I mentioned Brendan O'Neill earlier, a goal and 3 assists with potentially, not even potentially, it should be goal of the year. Man was flying like Bobby Orr. I showed my dad's getting into lacrosse because of my work, and I showed him to him, and his exact words were amazing vision and amazing athleticism. And that was all because of O'Neill. Not only does he have everybody coming to him, then he's like, I'm going to still fly and somehow find that through. He just snuck it through Hill's legs.
Mm-hmm.
And good call, a good thing for Philadelphia in the loss. This came from Adam Levi's Twitter. 7,200 at the Wells Fargo Center for the Wings game, which is the highest they've had this season. So,
And that's great considering what's going
Yeah.
on today.
Yeah.
and where the Philadelphia sports fan base is focused today. So
Well,
that's
half of
great
them
to
just
see.
went outside and went across to the parking lot where they have their car left for the tailgate this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Left yet the Wells Fargo area. You know, it could
So,
be
I
11
mean-
feet of snow. It doesn't make a difference.
I mean, Philly's definitely right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to Pro Box. It's a whole lot different than field, isn't it? My question is about secondary scoring on Philadelphia because we really haven't gotten much into that. You know, we talked a lot about
Yeah.
Sauer. We talked a lot about Jones. We've talked a lot about obviously Russet Terrence. And of course, Brennan O'Neill. Blaze Reardon, 1 goal. Phil Caputo, 1 goal. Holden Katoni, 1 goal. Holden Katoni needs to be the guy, as well as Russet Terrence and Jones, if this team is going to be successful.
Yeah.
Because they need to be able to get that shot from outside to keep everybody honest defensively, so they don't key on just guys trying to get inside and hammering them to the ground. If his shot's working, then they have that big booming cannon from 40 feet out that's going to pick a corner. That's going to pick the far corner. That's going to pick up. It's going to get everybody edgy and get everybody moving. And then when you have the guys like O'Neill's to come inside and do the cutting, that's going to just shuffle everything on the defense of whoever the hell they're playing. But if it's not, and everybody's standing pat, then without Reardon and without Katoni and without Caputo, all of a sudden these guys can key on these guys. And yes, Mitch Jones is going to get 8, 10, 14 assists, but he's not going to get anywhere near to get a goal. Hence 1 goal and having to dump it off.
Yeah.
Why is he dumping it off so much? Because he's eating gloves continually. And there's only so much that's going to happen to that, right? And obviously with Russet Terrace as being the go-to guy, he's not going to score 14 goals for you and get you the victory. So teams are keying on it. And O'Neill, teams are starting to key on him too. And he's going to have to get more creative as a box player than just a field drawn-up plays. Because teams are going to get savvy to that too. And a lot of these guys already play with him in PLL and know what he can do. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking that the league's getting a little bit smarter towards there's a lot more film out on all of them now. Hence Philadelphia having a few bumps in the road. And now is when they need to fix it because they're still sitting in the top echelon of the league. But that can easily switch around. There's so much talent and so many teams that have been heartbroken losing by 1 second, losing in the last minute.
Yeah.
You need one thing to go right and one spark that we talked about already. So I'm thinking that, there's a lot of talent there. It's about honing it in. And defense. Over the last couple of weeks, they were great the first, 4 or 5 weeks of the season at stifling teams. Now we're starting to see games where they're giving up 13, 14, 15 goals. Not since week 1 did we see that. Mike, any thoughts?
Yeah, it's a good point. I would build on talk of spark on the Halifax side. Jake Withers, 25 of 28 on faceoffs. That's one. And we were talking about Owen Grant for possible transition player of the year. Let's give some strong consideration now to Ryan Terafenko.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Last
100%,
11 points in his last 2 games, a hat trick and 3 assists. And maybe this is the key for Halifax. Let the transition loose between him and Colton Armstrong, Graham Hosick. I mean, Hosick had a goal and 2 assists. Withers had a goal and 3 assists. Maybe Halifax needs to start letting these guys run a little more.
Right. I like Mike Robinson. I think he's just ready to break out.
Yeah, he had a hat trick on the game. I mean, it's been a while since we had this discussion, but a lot of these games in general, just in general, across the league, doesn't matter who's playing who. Sometimes the only difference between a win and a loss is you scored a couple of goals in transition.
Yeah. I agree with that 100% because you see how teams are building now. They're focusing on athleticism, how quick, how fast, how much athleticism you've got. If you're just fine with kind of going into a set offense and trying to win that way, just the way teams are building now, that's just not going to happen. It's not going to win you games.
Mm-hmm. Do we think that Randy Stotts has taken too many shots and not feeding it off? He had 16 shots in this game, only 1 goal. Just to be the devil's advocate here, because yesterday was a win. But I look at some of the other guys on there. Terefenko only had 4 shots on net, had 3 goals. Jason Knox had 5 shots on net, had 1 goal.
Possibly, I mean,
yeah.
Dawson Feed comes to mind also. He had 8 shots, only had a goal.
Yeah, unfortunately for Jason Knott, I mean, he's almost one of the few players you could say kind of hasn't worked out, as far as a team picking him up from Panther City.
I think he's still trying to find his place there because you got Dawson Feed as the big guy there and doing a big thing. And you got Johnny Pearson who's doing all the rough stuff in there. So he's still trying to find where in the hell he belongs in all this. And so he's getting out there trying to find where his role is. And I think it needs to be more defined for him what he has to do and what his specific job is. And as soon as they do that, I'm sure that he's going to do it. He's athletic enough and he's huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'll agree on the too many shots. I mean, how about feeding Thomas Hogarth inside a little more? One of the best inside guys in the league.
I was just looking at Clark Peterson's numbers here. He only had 4 shots on net and 1 assist. Does he not have the ball in his hand? That's a goal scorer. I mean, right there.
Yeah. Being a hockey guy, the one thing I always hear is shots on net, get everything to the net. But in this kind of case, I feel like Stotts is taking that a little too literally because, like Shawn, you were saying, where's the ball to Clark Peterson? Like, only 4 shots, no goals. Why is Stotts taking that many shots when he can easily be fighting Peterson for more open looks?
We know Pearson can score.
Exactly.
Here's another stat that's not on here, but how many of those shots carry them off the boards and become over and backs that you've lost your opportunity altogether?
Yeah.
It's not like hockey where you're going to try and fight for it in the corner and pick up the rebound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Here it's going right back down the other way and probably into a transition the other way.
Or in the same kind of vein, how many times are those shots going to be just going straight into the goalie's stick, and he's just going to fly it over the offense? How many times is that going to happen, and then it's going to be a rush back towards the other way?
Right. No, nobody's taking anything away from Randy because when he's feeling it, I don't put it past him to get sick.
No, absolutely not.
But on nights when he's not feeling it and forcing it, granted, we're talking like it as though they lost, they won. But, against other teams like a Buffalo, again, comes to mind. These things have to be tightened up. The one thing that I got out of last week's press conference at the Bandits was they won 16-10, and they're talking about we have to be better on penalties. We have to be better on the. They're not looking at the win. They're looking at what they have to improve on for down the road when they're going to make their run for a three-peat. Mm-hmm. That's a championship team.
Yeah,
that's a team that wins.
And it's funny, the contrast.
They're looking at what they need to do.
Sorry, Gary, I was just saying the contrast we were talking about San Diego, and what was the coach is saying after that game? Oh, good job, boys. Great job. You did a great job. No, you shouldn't be happy with that. Look what the best teams are doing right now. You should be saying, no, we can be better. It's a great win, but we can be better.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Held accountable.
Yeah, and I was going to say it's that point that maybe should drive all of us to maybe have a little more faith in Calgary and Vancouver and their coaching staffs and methods.
Well, granted,
that they trend more toward Buffalo. That hey, we need to improve this, we need to improve that, and I thought this was okay, but
yeah, granted.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Well, again, I think that Josh Sanderson is probably one of the most underrated coaches in the league for what he's working with and what he's doing and accomplishing. So, yeah. Looking ahead this week, again, we've talked already about Buffalo playing Toronto on Friday in Toronto. A big one here now, and this is circled probably in your calendar, Shawn, is Saskatchewan and Calgary.
Yeah.
That's a huge game on Friday.
And there's no love lost between those two teams either.
No, but it's Saskatchewan 2.0 facing Calgary 2.0. So this is a game where if you can't see it, find a way to get a copy to see it, because I think this is going to be one to really watch. And I think it's going to be high flying. A lot of trend in this one. It's also going to test out to see the goaltending situations, because I think there's going to be a lot of shots.
Yeah.
And also on Friday night is Vancouver versus Vegas. Now, both teams are teams that I can't figure out. I can't figure out the Vancouver one. We've talked about that already. And Vegas, they've had moments of looking like they belong in the top 8, and they have moments where it look like they, thank goodness Toronto has their pick, because, boy, oh boy, really like a first-round overall pick. And they can't seem to get it in 2 games in a row. Now, coming off a bye week, Sean Williams, I'm sure, has something cooked up to try and, trip up Vancouver over in Vegas for another probably near sellout crowd. If you keep losing, those sellout crowds become half crowds. Now, you want to gain it.
Yep.
You have people say this is the biggest party in town. You got to come.
Yep.
So we move on to Saturday, and Philadelphia and Halifax in the second half of this home and home. Now, this one's going to be interesting too. By the way, the East Coast is getting killed with snow right now. So let's see. They're supposed to get in the small parts. It's supposed to be a 40 centimeters. So that's those are snow days, son. Those are snow days, Caden. Those are when you open the door.
Hey,
and
I already had off from work, so I just got to sleep in and relax. Not getting up.
We just trekked through it. We put the chains on the tires, and away we go. I have to admit, though, last night there wasn't a whole lot of fools on the road, so all the people out there, it was a very calm drive, in a lot of snow. So I guess the other ones were still in the bar trying to figure out which way the car was, or they'd already spun out into the ditch. So, bless them. But I was shocked at how sane it was on the roads in the midst of a snowstorm. So, especially when we're not in that much practice anymore for them. But anyways, moving further, we got Ottawa against Albany. Again, really interesting game. I love both teams, and both teams are youthful. Both teams have had their issues, and both teams have had really great ones. And it's who's going to rise, which set of cream is going to rise to the top in this one.
Cream will rise to the top. Like the savage. Albany 11 goals per game while giving up 12 goals a game, while Ottawa, on the other hand, is scoring about 8 goals a game, giving up about 9. So we're going to see if this one's a low scoring affair or a high scoring affair. And if Albany controls it, it will be a high scoring affair. You just lock down Jeff Teat. Please just keep Jeff Teat on absolute lock.
If Higgins has anything to say about it, it'll be a 5-4 game.
Most likely.
Yeah.
Sorry, Pat. Yeah, he's not here. That's a 30-hour shift or whatever, trying to keep the streets of Philadelphia clear. Good luck with all the debris. Super Bowl. Then, of course, we have San Diego headed into Buffalo. Buffalo after a hard-fought game against Toronto, one way or the other. So if there is a chance for the upset, this would be it. But San Diego needs to play 4 quarters, 4 full quarters, if they want to.
San Diego has to score, or it's going to get quick.
Because if they let Vince, it's the same thing for years. If you let Vince meander his way into the game, you're not going to beat him in the 3rd or the 4th because he's dialed in. If you can get to him in the 1st, you have a chance of getting into the zone there. But if you let him get into his zone, forget. That's
well, you have to ride the wave. Buffalo's going to get theirs. But if San Diego can't find that scoring to ride that wave and
It's to try
come
and
back,
break
you can't.
those massive runs that Buffalo can put
Yeah.
together. Buffalo can easily put together 4 and 5 goals, but what they did against Albany was they put together at least 2-goal runs. Every time they scored, it wasn't 1; it was at least 2. You have to be able to separate those with your own, and that's the assignment. If you can do that, then you can knock up their flow as well. So we'll see. Rochester is into Saskatchewan the next night, on Saturday night, and another big one for Saskatchewan after a tough one the night before.
Yeah.
And Rochester, again, much better than their record indicates. A lot
Yeah,
of hard
Rochester, another one I just can't get a beat on. I just
mind you, having Hartley back, I think, is a big
Yeah.
plus. As much as I like Hutchcraft, I think having Hartley there, it settles the team down too.
Mhm.
And of course, you have Vegas going into Calgary. So after they have a hard game the night before against Vancouver, you get going against Calgary. So a lot of back-to-backs for a lot of teams in this weekend. Hey, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Kate.
I was going to say Vegas Calgary's actually for Sunday, so they both those teams will get a rest, which still, a day of rest, watching a day of lacrosse and a Sunday game is going to be tough for them, no matter the outcomes for both Calgary and Vegas's game.
We'll keep
you would rather play that Friday, Saturday, actually.
Yeah, I'd rather play the Friday, Saturday, sitting on that momentum of a loss or a win, but you're on the momentum of playing back-to-backs instead of getting a day's rest. I get the whole thing of give the players a chance to rest, but I feel like the players play better in constant motion.
Yeah, and that game will probably just be wrapping up as we're
wrapping up because
it's at 7 at night. It's
Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. We'll be on at 8 p.m.
It'll be ongoing while we're
be ongoing. Yeah, it might be halfway through or so.
Yeah, but by the time we wrap up, we'll probably be able to give you the final. But last question, guys. It's Super Bowl Sunday. Who you got? Caden, we'll start with you.
I hope both teams lose. You see the Dark Knight Rise? You see the Dark Knight Rises, right? Where Bane comes in and takes over the stadium and does all that. Can that happen? I'm cool with that happening. Not really, guys. I'm kidding. Not genuinely. I just want both teams to lose.
Sounds good. I don't see it in my Bet365. I didn't have that on.
Shucks. I guess I'll pick Travis Kelce.
Okay, over under for Taylor Swift. You got that one for me, Caden?
Oh boy.
Let me get.
So 5.5 is the over under. So we're going over under.
Over. I'm thinking
Oh
8.
yeah.
Okay. I'm going with under actually because I think the camera will be on Trump. As he probably signed 17 executive orders while the game's going on. So we can't have kickoffs from the 40, and we can't have. Mike, who you got?
I'm caving into all the conspiracy about the refs. I'd like to see the Eagles win.
Okay.
So.
Shawn?
Yeah, as much as I don't want to see him win, you can't deny what Kansas City's done.
You come from a green province, you're crying out loud. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, I know. I know.
Green Riders, the Green Rush. What's going on? The red, the red.
My heart says Philly. My head says Kansas City.
Well, I just can't go with Casey. I just can't do it. I'm sorry. I got my Eagles jersey on, and fly Eagles, fly. Fly Eagles, fly. Yeah. I'm sorry I don't have more enthusiasm than that, but I just think that this is the year. I think that the Barkley signing was the thing that put him over. I think that this is going to be one hell of a smash mouth type of a game. I don't think that either team is going to get a whole lot, and I think that Barkley breaks one out, and that is the difference in this game. He was your MVP as well. And under for Taylor, over for Trump.
What's the number on Trump's appearance?
I haven't seen it, but it's an over. We're gonna.
I'm going over. I'm going over on both.
Over.
We're gonna see him. And Taylor Swift, that novelty is kind of worn out, unless he proposes to her at halftime.
Oh, he's when they win.
When they win, yeah.
When they win, he's absolutely.
What about when they lose?
He'll still do it.
I think you have to watch more what Jason Kelsey. Whole family going to be there.
It's like he's got the money in the bank, and he takes Taylor Swift right away from Jason Kelsey or from Travis Kelsey.
Oh yeah. But like I say, I got my Gales green on, so that's the closest I'm going to get to Eagles green. And there you go. So, let's see. Right. So, remember, next week we're back to our regular slot at 8 p.m. Eastern. And the whole Tootla gang will be here. I think Pat will just be coming down from his high or just coming out from his low, depending on how it comes. But, well, we should have him on for his part of the Wings Nest. Of course, Caden will be here with the Wolves Den. He'll have things changed around. Used to be depressed Fire Wolves fan.
It could even be still or worse. I don't know. We gotta be creative. Creativity is the name.
You gotta love emotion.
The passion. The passion's there.
I may have a rock bag after the. Who knows? But it's gonna be a busy week, busy weekend, and look out, because remember, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we are on YouTube. Please come back, check us out daily. The news is always changing, and we always have our fingers on the pulse of the situation. We will have everything for you as it happens. As quickly as we get it, we're going to get it out to you. So we're into last words. Caden, let's start with you for last words.
And on top of that, everyone stay safe this week. I'm excited for a lot of good lacrosse on the whole weekend. There's going to be a lot of good games. I'm finally excited to get back into MVP. So heads up, everyone stay safe. And as always, they all understood. You guys may not understood. They understood.
His peeps.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, I think that the total consensus actually for who wins the Super Bowl is this. I wonder when I was going to use that again. That's where it's going, Mike. Now, Mike, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's a huge week upcoming. 8 games, 4 teams with double headers. Just we could see the standings really tighten or really see some separation. I mean, two Vegas losses and an Albany loss puts them both at 2-8, which it should not bode well, obviously, for any sort of playoff run. But I'm looking forward to it all. So,
right,
and for maybe first big test for Buffalo too this weekend, having to play 2.
Oh yeah, and 2 top-notch teams. Shawn, last words to you.
Yeah, and a big weekend in Saskatchewan here, right? With their doubleheader, especially if they end up going 2-0, that could really solidify themselves into second place and make the rest of the league really worry about this Rush team. They do have a tough task ahead of them with Calgary and Rochester, so even going splitting could be big for this team.
Right. I'm thinking that, and I know Toronto's already been talking about, they're in playoff mode and whatever for how they're playing because they have to get these wins. If they lose to Buffalo on Friday, I think this is done. I don't think that this team really can come back and really accomplish much this season. So when we come to our section of, buyer sellers or stay put, I think it moves them from staying put to maybe sellers. And keep your picks. Keep your picks. Gain more. Keep your picks. This year especially when there might be both sitting there as a 1-2 at this stage. So, let's take lemons and make lemonade. Anyways, for the gang, for Shawn Slaght over in Moose Jaw, for Muffler Mike in Connecticut, and for Caden Balint over in Albany, I'm Gary Groob in Toronto. Wishing you a safe weekend. Be safe. Have fun watching the Super Bowl. Be safe. We want you back next week with us at 8 p.m. next Sunday night. And have a great week. Remember, keep your sticks high and your spirits higher. And until we meet up again next week, have a great week. We will see you then.